two's a crowd. Freeze a party coming, move around like the first rush when the school is out, when the booze is up, when the sun is down. Enjoy the ride, got some pillows in the Chevy. Hey, hey, just like a dial, laying low, hitting heavy. Take your time, let me know when you're ready. Couple months I've been messing with this steady. Open for plans tonight. Lost in the afterglow. Oh girl, your love for me keeps calling me, so I'm calling you. Lord, give me love to find. I long for your company. Oh girl, your love for me is a part of me.
Welcome back everyone. So in today's part of the manual conversion series, we're going to be pulling the auto box out of this car, so let's get stuck into it. Alrighty guys, so first thing you're going to want to do, we are going to be working around the starter motor when we pull out this gearbox. So just to be safe, we want to disconnect our battery. So we're going to come down here, just take our negative terminal off, pop that out of the way, make sure it can't touch the battery, just tie it out of the way somewhere or tuck it out of the way just so it can't hit. That's our first thing we're going to do, just for a safety reason. You don't want to be sparking off your starter and making a mess and burning yourself or anything like that. And then yeah, after that, if you're lucky enough like us, put the car up on a hoist. If you're unlucky and stuck in your garage watching this video, sucks to be you, but you're going to have to get some jacks out and some jack stands and get to work. So you guys get that stuff set up, we're going to get our stuff set up, and we'll see you once we're ready to crack on. So we'll see how we go, but being Aisha's car, I'm going to try and get her to do most of the work so she can say she's done this swap. So here she is. Yeah.
I'm literally going to I did the swap myself.
Did it all myself. But that's what she's doing at the moment, disconnecting that battery like we were talking about. It's the first big step. There we go. So the car's been manual converted, guys. Thanks for watching. So there's our first step done. We're going to tuck that right out of the way, just so there's no chance of that popping back up there. Nope, that's all good. So I'll just tuck that right out of the way. There's no way that can pop up and touch that terminal again. We've already got the car on the hoist, luckily. So
I did that too.
Ash did that too. Don't forget it. So before we get too stuck into it, once your car's set up on the hoist, you want to jump inside and pull out your shifter assembly. So that's just, by the time you've got your gearbox ready to come out, you don't have to worry about, oh crap, I've left my shifter stuck, and then you're in all types of dramas. Your gearbox is half out, but it won't come out because of your shifter. One thing I will add, I've never actually pulled an auto box out of a Skyline before, so this is going to be interesting. I've done heaps of manual swaps, but my manual swap is starting with a car that had no engine or transmission in it. As you know, I've had a lot of those.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's a fresh thing to me, but it shouldn't be too hard of a process. I'm pretty confident it should be like any other auto gearbox. So it's going to crack along with it, and as we figure things out, we'll let you guys know. But yeah, now we're going to jump inside the car and pull this shifter out. So I'm going to pull this shifter out. I can't remember how this comes out.
Wasn't there like a...
I think there was a screw. Yeah, there's a screw. So I have pulled this out before because I had to do Ash's stereo and swap that over from her old car. But I'm going to kind of figure it as I go because I kind of forgot. But yeah, you've got, if you put your shifter right down in second, we'll call that, or third, second, you can see on the back of the shifter, if you bring the camera around here, I've actually got two Phillips heads that hold on that shifter. So before we can even think about pulling up the surround panel, the shifter's going to have to come off. Now these two screws should just unscrew, not have to come all the way out, and they'll just sit in the shifter. That slides off. Happy days. Next thing, you want to pull out your little ashtray, which just slides out, very simple, and put that somewhere safe. And then you'll see right down the back there, you've got one screw. You can kind of see right in the middle of the screen there. So we'll take that bad boy out. This is all very new to me because a lot of my interior is not really held together with screws, it's just kind of pushed into place. So it's weird seeing all these screws, but we are going to need that again for the manual one, so we'll put that somewhere we remember where it is. My advice, clear all of your crap out of your little cup holders, and then all your screws that you need and don't want to lose, you can sit in there. from there, I'm pretty sure we need to pop out this little surround piece, this little rubber bit, like so. That just pulls up from the edges, and that pops out. You see that kind of tucks under the front there and locks into place, and it does give you a little arrow pointing up so you know where the front is. That can go on the floor with all our other bits. From there, we should be able to pull this trim piece out. So yeah, it's all pretty crusty. So to get this piece out, you're gonna have to pull your handbrake up so you can clear out some room, and then get in under the edge of this piece. If you can get your fingers in there, it's a very hard piece to get to. And you can see I've just flicked up from that back corner there. There are little tabs on this front edge, that's why you're lifting up from the back first. And now that you've got your little exterior trim piece out, that should just pop out over your shifter. It is a bit of a tight squeeze in those autos because it does sit up quite high. So just be careful as you work it out because you don't want to break anything. There we go. So that just pops over the top there. And we've got a few little switches and stuff that we'll need to remove. Your steering wheel controls, little plug underneath, that just pops out and releases that. And then, if I can let you guys see that, on the back of our cigarette lighter, you got also two little pins, so they both pop off. I can get to those. One, and oh.
Did you break that?
No, that's a light, so that's a little pin there, so yours has a little light on it, which is
Oh
cool.
yeah, for probably when you push it in, it glows.
Yes, that's right. So usually that unplugs, but I've just pulled the whole thing out. Not like it matters because it's all going to have to go back together anyway. But yeah, there's our auto surround piece out. This lighter does pull out. I'd assume it just pushes straight forward, but we'll figure that out when we get to it. So for now, well, there's that one little bit. Pulls out obviously as it does, and would assume that this just twists in a certain fashion and pops out like most stuff, but we'll come back to that when it's time to pull it out and figure it out from there. So yeah, I'll have a bit of a play with that and figure it out just so you guys don't break it. I can figure it out. But yeah, that's our first little piece out of the way. So all these wires you will need to reuse because you are still using that cigarette lighter. You can probably just pop this light out now so you don't lose that. Pop that out and put it back in our cigarette lighter. However that clips in, so like that. Perfect. So that's all clipped back in now. We will come back to that piece. Alrighty, so now we need to pull this shifter module out. By the looks of things, we have got, I would say, 4 10mm that go around the outside of this module. So I'm going to grab a ratchet, an extension, and a 10mm socket, and we'll get these undone and see if we can just pull this whole piece out. So here's my ghetto setup. This is just my little screwdriver that's got a 1/4 inch end in it, so I'm just going to keep using that because why not. And you should be able to see looking straight down, you got like one in that corner, one down here, one down here, and I'd assume there's going to be one down there, which there is. So 4 10mm bolts. I'm going to undo all of these. They shouldn't be crazy tight. I mean, that's just a 1/4 inch ratchet and that does it easily. And I got my little screwdriver bit. How fancy is that? So you will probably need a magnet to get those 4 bolts out when it comes to it. But for now, we're just going to sneak down in there and undo all 4 and see if that releases this shifter module, which it should. And our last little one that's tucked away behind the wiring loom. Alrighty, there we go, we got one out, awesome. Let's see if we can get to these other ones. 2, 3. So
I
close,
can't
but
really
so
see
far.
what I'm doing.
So let's say that last one down there is probably going to be the one we won't be able to get. If we get lucky, we can probably grab it.
Or we'll drop it.
Or drop it. So that one's going to have to stay in there. I can't get to that, so we'll have to get a magnet to pull that one out. But regardless, there we go. So that appears to be all the bolts that we're actually holding that in, which is sweet. Next thing we're going to do is pull that up out of the way. We've got to shift the linkage running off the front there, and a few little plugs and stuff we'll have to unclip on the way out. So by the looks of things, we have our little linkage which is held in at the back there in that little clip. So that should just pop right out of that little clip there, if I can get in underneath it, like so. So that popped out of the way. This looks like some form of connector, which it is. So that little white connector pops back, and that's our linkage all disconnected. Next thing, should be able to pull this up a little bit, like so, and give us access to the plugs on the side of this little shifter. So we can now get to those. If I can get my finger in there. I can't, so I'm going to have to get a little flat blade screwdriver, just pop those plugs out, but I'll grab that and get back to you guys. Back again in the car, going at this wiring loom. I might be able to pop that off there actually. So it appears that this is clipped onto the side of the shifter. I don't want to break it, but if we get into that plug, like so, that just pops out. These are all just old and never been played with before, so they're all quite hard to actually get off. But that is one of our plugs undone from the side there. This little brown connector is what was going up to our steering wheel controls. So that little section of the loom is now disconnected, and we'll pull that out of the way just so we know that's all clear. Opens things up a bit. Looks like we can get to the back of this plug here and hopefully slide that off. Maybe not. There'll be a little tab on the back that we'll have to use to slide that off, so we'll come back to that as well. We have a little plug down the bottom here, right down the front there, little white one. We'll use a screwdriver to pop that in and flick out. So there is another plug disconnected. Pop that all the way out. My fat fingers. This is painful to watch, I'm sorry. Alrighty, there we go. Very simple process. That just pops out from that little clip. And we've got this little blue wire, which also pops out from that clip, just to the right side of it. So you can see that wire down there. And just pops out to this side, if I can get onto it. Almost. There we go. So that's that plug out of the way. Now there shouldn't be too much more in our way. This should almost just pull out. We will be stuck by that connector that's still connected to the side, but it should be mostly ready to come out. We can just poke that little linkage out of the way for now. We'll come back to that. Okay, so this loom runs over the top with a little clip. Just pull that loom up and that clip will pop out. We'll also tuck that down to the side. Now, by the looks of things, we're going to have to slide forward to clear where the shifter actually runs to. So we push as far forward as we can, and then that pops up at the back, and you got to kind of angle it out by the looks of things. Still a little bit stuck. It's just a very tight space. I think what we're going to do is we're going to pop this center console off just to give us that little bit of extra room to the left and right. So that is also quite simple. You've got two little clips that go over your handbrake. They just pop off to release the boot. And I'll swap back over to my Phillips head bit. Two screws up the front here. Come out nice and easy. And they can go in our special parts tray. And then you also have, they'll be hard to see, but there's two screws that go into the side of these compartments. Oh, yeah. So what we're going to have to do is we'll have to jump out of the car, slide these seats right forward, and I'll be able to get to those. Once they're undone, the whole unit slips out. So we'll quickly do that now, and I'll get those bolts undone. That's our first one there, and we're going to have to go over to Ash's side and do the same.
Go for it.
Okay, so back in the car now, and we've got both of these side screws undone. Before we go too much further, close your cup holder so your screws don't go all over the floor. This just lifts up from the back, slides forward over your handbrake boot, and then up out of the way. That's it.
Ooh, baby.
So very, very simple. Probably should have done that in the first place. It's very simple to do, and it gives you a lot more room. There's our loom that we took off earlier. Here's our plug, which looks like it doesn't have to be released because it's actually part of that assembly. Now that we've got more room, this just comes to the back and should, in theory, just pop out. But something is holding us back. So they're out of the way.
Yeah, I thought you were just holding on to them.
Okay. So we have a linkage that runs to the front, and there's also a linkage that runs under the car. So next step we're going to have to do is quickly go underneath the car, and there'll just be a circlip that we'll undo, pop off the linkage cables, and then this whole shifter assembly will come out. So we'll put this car up in the air, pop that out, and then rip the shifter out. See you guys under the car. We're now underneath the car here, and we've got our fancy linkage. Like I was saying, there's a circlip just in there, a pair of pliers, and that'll pop out. If I can get onto the end of it, like so. So now that pops out of the way, you'll have a few little washers and spacers and stuff. There goes one. So keep all of that, your bolt will slide out. Another washer, also on the ground. There we go. So now that's all disconnected, and you can see there's our shifter box.
Lucy boy.
So that can all come out. While we're down here, what we'll probably do is take the rest of this off. So next step for us will be undoing this bolt here, which looks to be a 17 or 19. So we'll grab a spanner, jump onto that, get that undone, and then from there, this whole arm running over the top to this linkage should pop off, and then that is all out of the way. So we'll have a crack at that now. Alright, so as I was saying, this bolt here, 19 mil. Gonna crack that. So that's finger tight, and we can just take that off. So probably a good thing we're starting to this auto, because it looks like it's starting to leak out of some of your fittings.
No, that's from the oil cooler O-ring, because it comes backwards.
Don't mind me. Just talking crap. So, with that out of the way, that should now pop straight off, and there'll probably be another washer that'll fall out on the floor. No, happy days. This whole thing pulls out the back. If it fits. like so. There you go, how good's that? So one thing I like to do is always pop your bolts back on where they've come off from, otherwise you lose them, you don't know what's going on. So just pop that on a few threads. Bit on the piss, but alrighty, so that's sitting on there. This can now go in our, I guess we'll get a box set up of all old auto parts just so we can keep it all together. And yeah, we'll chuck this stuff in the collection.
For it.
So now with the car in absolute pieces, we've disconnected the linkage. So now without any hesitation, this should just pull up and out of the way.
Keyword is should.
Should. So it's just a bit of a squeeze because you have to kind of rotate that around the gearbox, but here we go. Shifter assembly majiggy out.
Yay.
So now we'll chuck this in the box of all your spare auto parts and back under the car we go.